Welcome to the Beyond the Event podcast, your home for exclusive tips, trends, and stories from local event professionals. So get ready and let's go beyond the event.
Welcome in, everybody, to the Beyond the Event podcast. I am here with a special guest named Elizabeth from Camp Puh'tok, which also is Puh'tok in the Pines. And we were just talking just now, and I want to start by maybe just first sharing who you are, how you are intertwined with all of this, what you guys offer, and just a quick backstory of who you are.
Sure. So my name's Elizabeth. I have been associated with the camp for 23 years now.
Wow.
So I actually started out here as a camper when I was 10, and then, did the camper thing, did the CIT counselor thing, and then went off and got a real job. Camp is a real job. But was still involved in some way, shape, or form with either volunteering nights and weekends or doing, helping with staff, giving them breaks, whatnot. But I just fell in love with this place. I was fortunate enough to be able to go out and get a lot of, further my education with environmental science and environmental education, as well as work in schools, as well as the Park Service. So did a lot with a couple years out of here, and then came back in 2016, 17, and started as the program specialist here for all of our field trips and whatnot. So we do, outside of just rentals and events, we do a lot of stuff with a lot of different groups. So half my job is actually split. So half my job is to run the field trips here. So we offer an Indigenous program with Native American curriculum, and then we do environmental programs as well. So half my job is field trips, running that, and then the other half is weddings and rentals. We have a lot of different facilities on site that do birthday parties, baby showers, weddings.
Yeah.
So all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's interesting. We did an event here, what was that, October, November of this past year.
Yep.
And we've been here in the past as well, but it was my first time being on site for this past event. And, when we asked to have you on, I was thinking really just on the event side of things, but then hearing more about that, it seems like this place is bigger than what I've seen, just this spot down here.
It is. So we're 67 acres here.
Wow.
And we've got a ton of different facilities. So this is one of our hall spaces that we're in now. The lodge is the other one I mentioned earlier. And then we also have about 10 different cabins that are like large group cabins that sleep 186 guests in temperature controlled, so central AC and heat with bathrooms.
Wow.
So a cool part of our package here with weddings especially is the exclusivity of the entire weekend. So they get Friday 2 p.m. check-in to Sunday like 4 or 5 checkout. And then they can have their rehearsal dinner here. They can have all day Saturday to do activities with their guests, and then roll into the more formal events of ceremony, cocktail hour, and then reception. And then a lot of people I don't know if you were even able to get over to it, but we have a big amphitheater, open air. A lot of people call it like the Gladiator Ring. But a lot of people do the after party there and do a big bonfire and bring like coolers of beer, wine, liquor over and just kind of party out there for the rest of the night. So a lot of different spaces that can offer a lot of different groups, including weddings. A lot of possibilities.
Right. Yeah. That's so much more inclusive than I thought. One of the challenges that we have being a tent rental company is if you're having an event at your house, that's one advantage, which I like, that people can get it for the whole weekend, because that's one of our selling points in the tent space is with all due respect, there's some venues that have some strict timelines, and it's like if they have weddings on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays, so there's quick turnover.
Yeah.
So that's one of the advantages for both being here or at your house. But the bonfire sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Like if you don't have access to a massive bonfire area, and then also you mentioned the lodging. So especially I would imagine, do you get a lot of out of town guests? Is that something that's like a big selling point?
It can be hit or miss, to be fully transparent. I will say for guests or weddings that are typically about have 150 guests, about like 60 to 80 of them will actually spend the night. A lot of that's younger family and like their friend groups and whatnot.
Yeah.
Because it's more of that rustic camping experience rather than a hotel stay.
Right.
Now we are sandwiched right in between. About 15 minutes north is Shrewsbury, Pennsylvania. 50 minutes south of us is Cockeysville, Maryland, which both towns offer plenty of hotels. So if anyone's like brand loyal, one of those towns has what they like. And often the hotels will do shuttle services.
Oh, wow.
So it kind of gets the best of both worlds, that a lot of people that do have a lot of out of town folks coming in will like that aspect of it, that it is a free place that they can stay. Some couples do charge as well. So there's a lot of different ways that they can go about that themselves on their end. But that is definitely an attraction for a lot of people, especially out of state guests.
Right.
But more so, not even if they're out of state, but just that kind of togetherness that you don't get with just a 4-hour, 8-hour block at a traditional venue.
Right.
So that seems to be more of the bigger draw than the accommodations. The accommodations often, the accommodations are often just a really big advantage.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like there's a ton. When we walked into this place, you're mentioning that this beautiful room right here. I'm gonna try to give a quick little tour. So if you're watching on video, you can get a quick little view of this place where we're at right now. And you mentioned before we recorded that this is for like the rehearsal dinner or the day before, whatever, like you get access to all this too.
Yep. So 2 p.m. check-in. Every building on site that we have that will be accessible to you. Obviously, my office is locked, or like some other, like the nature center. But every building will be deep cleaned. We have a professional cleaning crew that comes in, so everything will be deep cleaned for you and then unlocked and available for you to start using. So a lot of couples will like divide and conquer. So they'll have teams that go out of friends. So like Bob and these 4 will decorate the hacienda for the rehearsal dinner. You know, Sally and those 10 will go to the lodge.
Yeah.
Because while we are super unique in the sense that we do offer that whole weekend, there's a fair bit of DIY that is associated with it, but that also is what makes it so special because every couple truly can shine through. So even people who have been here for like 3 or 4 or 5 weddings, you really do get to see that exact couple actually come through, which is so special and so fun for me to see at least.
Right.
But yeah, so a lot of people will, you know, send people out in different locations to start setting up table and chair setup as part of, you know, on the guests, or not on the guests, but on the setup team.
Yeah.
So that makes it a lot easier for them to kind of conquer that.
Yeah.
And the 2 p.m. helps.
Yeah, for sure. No, I think it's such a great hybrid option, you know, because it's like the best of both worlds. You get the advantage of planning an event in your backyard, you know, a backyard wedding. You get the advantage of like, you know, privacy, doing things your own way, like, you know, things of that nature. You get to kind of build it out yourself. This seems like a hybrid point where it's like you don't get kicked out at a certain time. You get to stay the whole weekend. You get the customization of, you know, mapping things out. But it's probably great for a lot of people that don't have the space or they live in a townhouse or something like that. You still have the option. Now, I'm familiar with the tents that we've done here, but is there any indoor areas or is everything pretty much outdoors when it comes to having like an event here?
I would say the majority is indoors. So usual timeline of events or location of events is the ceremony typically is either on the field. We have in like a bottom diagonal corner, has a beautiful fully wooded backdrop. And we actually just created a new ceremony space as well. That's a mulched flat area that will have string lights intertwined or zigzagged through the trees. Yeah. So we're really excited about offering that. That will be this upcoming spring.
Awesome.
Well, now.
Yeah.
But so we have that indoor space, the lodge. But typically ceremonies will be either on the field, in the council ring or amphitheater that I was speaking about earlier. And then hopefully the new ceremony site. And then the cocktail hour typically is at Trading Post, that outdoor concrete patio that had the wine barrel high tops. So cocktail hour typically is held over there. And then a lot of couples will use the lodge as their reception just because it can seat 200.
Oh, wow.
So you don't have to necessarily worry about flipping. You know, obviously if you have that higher guest count, that 200 guest count, you are flipping the tables for a dancing space. But typically most couples are about 150-ish.
Yeah.
So it offers them that larger space to be able to just enjoy the night. So that's typically, and then this space here, Friday night rehearsal dinner and Sunday brunch.
Yeah.
So couples do utilize a majority of the facilities, if not all of them, throughout their wedding weekend. Of course, with the cabins being the accommodations. And then the bridal and groom's party will also get ready in those cabins. So it works out that they can spread out and feel like they're using everything.
Right.
But indoor space specifically, it would be either this space or the lodge. Some couples will use this space for a rain backup in case it's inclement weather.
That's always important,
Yep.
yes.
In case it's inclement weather, they'll set up like their archer arbor or triangle over there. And do kind of like lecture style seating or like traditional ceremony seating in here, and then help usher guests to the lodge. So a couple different ways that you can utilize the indoor space. I will say coming off the height of COVID, the outdoor space isn't as popular as it was right at when we opened back up for smaller, large weddings. But we do still, I would say every season. So we only offer weddings in the fall and in the spring.
Interesting.
Because we are on 67 acres and we have a ton of different roads. And our roads are all gravel, as you could see. It would just be, we wouldn't be able to plow and salt the way we would need to with what comes in. It would cost us more to take care of the roads than we get for the wedding. So we don't do any winter weddings because we don't want to cancel a wedding. They have so many vendors that are in place. So we don't do any winter weddings. And then we're a traditional summer camp in the summertime with about 250 campers plus, and then 100 staff. So we're up to our knees in people in the summer. So yeah, fall and spring are our only wedding options.
I was going to ask, with that in mind, with the scheduling, is it pretty much seasonal? Like you have set start, like it's only available for a wedding between this date and this date, and then it's summer camp, and then this date and this date for weddings?
March, April, May are our spring wedding options. And then we can do typically the first weekend of June. Once we get into the second weekend, we start having our international staff arrive and staffing coming on site, which need those cabins. So we can't offer the same, it's whole camp access. So typically the first weekend in June is the last weekend that we can offer weddings. And then we end summer camp kind of late August. And then we spend 2 weeks cleaning this camp up to put back onto wedding level. Because one kid is very messy. You put almost 300 of them together. It needs 2 weeks to get back to our wedding levels. Or our wedding standards. And then so we start the first weekend in September, so Labor Day weekend typically, first weekend of September, and then until the end of November. Obviously, with the end of November being Thanksgiving, is not as popular of an option. So typically the middle or the beginning or middle of November are our last wedding offers.
So a good question is, when do you sleep?
Fortunately, we have a really solid team here. So we all, because we're such a small team, excuse me, and all of us have been here for so long, it's very easy to rely on one another and kind of, if one person's bearing too much weight or needs help with something, everyone's able to jump right in. We all wear multiple hats. Yeah,
I was going to ask that, we've been in contact with you when we've had, a couple events here. And so you're our first point of contact, but how big and what does the rest of the team look like? Because it looks like and sounds like you do a lot of the work.
No, we all do very much a lot of work. So we are our own nonprofit. So there's a team of 3-4 of us, 5. So I have my executive director, Alexi. She is the executive director. She runs the whole shebang. And then my coworker, Heather, runs all the grants and fundraising and stuff like that. And then we are fortunate, I guess, last year, with a grant opportunity to bring on a full-time program staff. So someone to help run those field trips and whatnot, instead of just being hourly, someone who is set here. So in the office, it is just the 4 of us. And then Joe, who is our facilities director, who I was calling you Jeannie, but he does all the outdoor stuff. So when we have weddings here, he's the one that goes and leaf blows and rakes and does all that property stuff. So year round, full time, it's just me, Heather, Joe, and Alexi, and then Sarah.
That's a lot of responsibility, and you should be proud of yourself for, being able to do that with, I don't even want to say a limited capacity, because I don't know how many people it would normally take, but I'm just thinking 67 acres, lots of students, lots of weddings, lots of events. It's a lot of work.
It is. Our December, January, February is our lower time, but that's also the time where we're offering single rentals. So when people want to have baby showers or birthday parties, something like that, instead of renting the whole camp, they're able to just rent the hacienda or one cabin for their daughter's 8th birthday party, something like that. We've also had friend reunions here. So a group of college buddies came and partied all weekend in the fort. So all the different buildings have different themes to them. So depending on what kind of aesthetic you want for your event, you kind of get different options, which is kind of cool. But I'm very fortunate for the team that we have here. It is a lot of work for each of us. And a lot of it just does come down to the people that we have here. We would not be able to do it without the bare minimum that we have now.
I own a company, and the first thing that comes to my mind is this facility would be awesome for like a company retreat. Is that
Yes,
something that?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Really?
We're really trying to push that more so right now. Weddings are wonderful. I love meeting my couples and I love being able to do what I do. But they're one and done.
Right.
Right. So we definitely would love to expand a little bit more. Now we certainly have some groups that come all the time. Stella Maris comes for a camp. Sun Sibs comes for a camp. The Baltimore Station. So we have that come for a retreat. That's the homeless veterans group in the city. They're a wonderful organization, but we definitely have groups that come at least once or maybe twice a year, but we would definitely love to get some more returners, people that can come every year. So there's corporate retreat styles. So that's definitely something we're looking to figure out how to expand into. A little bit of difficulty with that is catching the ear of the right person. Obviously cold calling in 2025 is not very successful. Now coming out, we're currently working on coming up with like that go-getter package. So being able to just say, here, this is what we offer, and being able to catch your eye and your heart right then and there. It's pretty hard. But yes, that's absolutely something we would love. If anyone wants to call me.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm already thinking as a customer, because you got to be on the facility to see it, and not to mention just talking about what you have access to. Like being a business owner, knowing the team that we have, I'm looking at it from like a retreat side, that like team building. Like you can schedule activities and like build your team together all in a private setting. I think it's a great opportunity.
And that's the other thing. We offer a variety of activities. So we have a 40-foot adventure tower that's 3-sided. It's got a 40-foot rock wall, cargo net, and Jacob's ladder, which not everyone's familiar with. It's ladders on a rung. Ladders on a rung on the ladders, whatever. And the space gets bigger within each step. So it's a partner climb.
Nice.
So we have that. We have a double racing zip line that goes over a pond through the woods. We've got a flying squirrel, which is like a swing element. We have horseback riding, archery, riflery. We have a huge, massive pool, which is behind us. That's 275,000 gallons. It goes up to 10 feet. Absolutely beautiful space. So a lot that people can sign up for while they're here. It's not just kind of, you're all on your own. Of course, there's plenty to do to occupy any guests that are here on their own. If they don't want to book that extra programming, it's completely optional. There's plenty of hiking trails on site, and our property backs up to the Gunpowder State Park. And then we're right along the NCR Trail, tubing in the summer, biking, walking, all those kinds of things, fly fishing.
And plus, if it's in terms of capacity as well, what would be the max capacity if somebody did like a big company or even a big wedding? What's a big event to you?
So capacity wise, we have 186 that we can sleep in central heat and AC cabins with bathrooms. So typically that's what most guests want. Once we have more rustic accommodations, but that's not necessarily what some of our cabins are already camping in of itself to a lot of people. I personally call it glamping, especially if you're able to check out any of our facilities online. They're really nice cabins. They're like the cabin kits for the most part, but just, built beautifully and with, you can tell the love that goes in it. So to me, they're really special spaces that, I think of more like glamping, but a lot of people are like, oh, this is roughing it. So obviously you can have your gradient of people there and what they like hospitality wise. So typically we say 186 because that's our max with the.
That's still really big.
Exactly.
Especially like our company, in the peak season is probably 18, 19 max. It's everybody. So I'm thinking and plus the scenic view, I don't know, I could be naive to all of this, but I don't know if there's a lot out there like this. I'm envisioning if I'm doing, and I've looked at it in the past, like a retreat or, some team building activity, you're thinking more businessy, more corporate, more DC, like hotel, conferencey, things like that. This just gives you that outdoor environment, but you still get the benefits and perks of team building and being all, you can't have a big bonfire in the middle of the city or something, to I guess, blend with your team. I think that's fantastic.
And I think the thing as well is that the place sells itself. Makes my job a lot easier. Once we can get the people out here, couples or retreats or whoever it is, if we're able to get the people out here, it really does. You're able to see all that is offered and what you can make with the spaces. And I think it really does kind of sell itself in that sense. And it really, I'm there to say, oh, you could do this and this and this to kind of give you that vision. But It is. It's hard to, tell a company that online. Say,
Right.
hey, come look at this. It
Right.
really is helpful to get them out and be able to talk to them and show them and kind of give them those visuals and kind of that inspiration.
Yeah. Something I love talking about on the podcast, we've had some other people on, event planners, and you're actually the first venue, I would say, to be on. So we're excited about that. And which has me curious, and I would love to learn more about, like, what exactly would you say is do you have any, I don't want to say like secret sauce or secret process, but like, if I would say getting married, let's stick with maybe weddings.
Okay.
What does that look like? Does it start with like a facility tour? Does it start with, just walk me through the planning process and how you can help your clients, make it a streamless process?
Yeah. So a lot of it, we advertise on all of the typical websites that all venues do. And then we'll push, some Facebook posts, Wedding Wednesday. But typically it's a lot of people reaching out to us. Which is wonderful. So a lot of it starts with receiving that inquiry and then kind of following up, sending them our wedding blurb that just kind of goes in a little bit more in depth of what our package offers, as well as, more importantly, the Google Drive link that shows them pictures and videos inside and out of the different main facilities that would be used for a wedding. So once they get that and they read through and they're like, oh, okay, this sounds like it could be a match. We set up a tour and then we walk everything. It takes about an hour and 15 minutes. We just walk and talk and show them all that, is offered. And then we offer courtesy soft holds for those that are still trying to figure out some things logistic wise, or if they're still touring other venues or whatever it may be. We offer a courtesy soft hold, which essentially just gives them the first right of refusal. And then, once they decide, hey, we love Puh'tok, we want to have our wedding here. Really, we pay the deposit, 50% deposit is due, along with a signed contract, and then the wedding date is yours. And then from that point on, I'm here to help in any way, shape, or form that I can. So I've had some clients that, are really connected with me and are emailing me daily. I've had some couples that, honestly, I haven't spoken to them maybe twice since they toured.
Right.
And then their wedding day is here. Right. And we're like, oh, okay, great to see you again. I haven't seen you in a year.
Right.
So it really has the full gambit there of types of clients. I feel like a lot of our type A couples or brides will be more communicative and want to bring out those vendors. I suggest to all of my tours, there's at least 4 people that should come out if they've never worked here. We have no preferred or required vendors.
That was my next question.
Yep.
I was going to ask, anybody?
Anyone.
That's a big drawback on other places. So.
It is. Now, of course, we're always open to kind of figuring out what works best for us and for other vendors. But currently, as it stands right now, no preferred or required vendors. But I do have a list of, previous vendors that have worked here that, I might shout out or something. As of right now, we're looking to maybe adjust some of that, still be free vendor or open vendor, but adjust how we go about that a little bit. But I do recommend bringing the 4 vendors out if they've never been here. If you're using a coordinator, because we don't have any day of coordination here. That is when I sleep, is the weekend.
Yeah, I was curious.
We don't have any day of coordinators. No staff are on site unless you book that programming. So like my lifeguards would be here, my ropes facilitators, those people would be here, but their job would be to run the program, not necessarily be taking the trash out or ushering guests. Now that's something that you could look into. It's not something I guarantee, but if my staff want to help with that, I've absolutely had weddings in the past that have worked to book my staff to help them with that, which is totally doable. And then, so wedding, on that note real quick though, I will go back to this. I'm every wedding's point of contact. So they have my personal cell phone number. You can call me, FaceTime me, text me, whatever works best for you. I'm your point of contact for any questions or concerns throughout the weekend. And I say you can give that number out to in-laws, parents, your wedding coordinator, your bridal party, your groom party, whatever it is. I say you can give that number out to select people, not everyone.
Right.
But pretty much any question anyone has for me at this point, I can answer virtually. But we do have all 5 of us live within, a 20-minute radius. So we have, or 25-mile radius. We have about a 20-minute response time if something really goes awry.
Wow.
So that's a good thing that we're not breathing down your neck the whole weekend, watching your every move. You have the freedom to be who you want to be and do what you want to do. But the security, knowing if something goes awry, we will be here, and that, you at least have me in your pocket
Right.
at all times. And then if we need to respond in person, that will absolutely be here.
Yeah.
So with that being said, so yes, I definitely recommend if you're doing a coordinator or a planner, have them come out, have them walk the facilities and see where, you know, different events are going to be held, and so that they can wrap their head around the logistics. And similarly, same with your caterer, your band or DJ, and your photographer. Those are the 4 people that if they've never been here, it's going to make your wedding day so much easier, and your wedding week, let alone, so much easier when they feel comfortable and confident going into the venue, especially because we are a larger venue with multiple spaces. We're not a reception hall that, you know, each vendor has a different corner.
Right.
So it's helpful to bring them out. Now we do have a lot that works in our advantage. A lot of caterers don't feel a need to come out because we have a full-size commercial kitchen in the lodge. So that they're like, oh, it's commercial rated, we're good then. They're not doing a pop-up kitchen in the back of a building or in the back of a house or a mansion or something like that. So that kind of works in our favor as well, that they don't necessarily feel the need to. But definitely for your photographer or your planner, 100%, bring them out.
Yeah. Well, I got married in 2019. It makes it sound like I want to get married again. This place is incredible. It seems
2029, you can do a 10-year renewal, vow renewal.
It just checks off all the boxes. Like I didn't even know all this. I mean, like I said, we were here last fall. I'm here to install a tent. That's my job. You know, that's what we do here. And I didn't even know that you offered so much and all inclusive. So that's just incredible. What would you say? My 3 things: I love stories, I love tips and trends, are the 3 things about the podcast. So what are some maybe tips or past experiences that you've had that might help somebody listening when they're planning an event in the future?
Planning an event or planning a wedding here?
That's a great question. Let's stick, well, what would you say you do more of, weddings or generalized events?
For Puh'tok.
For Puh'tok, yeah. Like, is the bread and butter the wedding space, or is it more like, hey, you know, this weekend we have this, you know, field trip or this camp or this whatever? I don't know, it's separated by time, but
I was going to say, it depends on the season. Obviously, in our fall or spring, it's going to be more weddings because that's booked out a year in advance, and that's every weekend.
Wow.
So for every weekend of, you know, April, May, and then September, October, half of November, we're having weddings. So yes, for those seasons, bread and butter, 100% weddings. Outside of that, like right now, I'm doing a ton of Boy and Girl Scout encampments. So I have some troops that are bringing 80 scouts out with 40 adults. I have some troops that are bringing 12 people with 3 adults. So we get a lot of different Boy and Girl Scout troops that want to come out and do partial camp rentals. So that seems to be very popular. And then, like I said, baby showers and birthday parties are a huge popular thing in the winter because we have that availability. So I would say outside of wedding season, single day events are very, very popular. Like those, you know, family celebrations and whatnot. But yeah, I don't know if that answered that question.
No. Well, I have a good question in terms of helping a listener would be, how far in advance, if I wanted to rent this place right now for my wedding, how far are you booked all the way through 25?
25 is booked.
Wow.
Now, I will say, we were just talking with my director about this. The seasons ebb and flow. About 10, 15 years ago, spring was the hottest season. Everyone wanted to have a spring wedding, and fall, we absolutely booked, but it wasn't at 100% capacity. The past couple of years, I would say a couple of years before COVID, and then, you know, now out of the height of COVID, just tons and tons of weddings, and we're booked all through the fall now. And that the fall trend has been that for a couple years now. So yes, fall 25 booked up. I would say by around like winter of 24.
So about a year in advance is when you should even
for
consider.
Fall.
Oh, for fall, okay.
For right now, again, the seasons ebb and the favorite season ebbs and flows. Spring, I have about half my weekends at capacity right now. And then what's not at capacity with weddings is a lot of those retreats. So we have a group that comes with that have siblings of cancer, is the support group there that runs this camp. So they come out every Memorial Day weekend. And then we have, you know, grief camps that require a little more privacy, but they do camp rentals. So the spring is a time to do a lot more of those corporate retreats, or there's more, there's not wedding things that don't necessarily take a year in advance to book. Obviously, with most weddings, we're booking a year in advance so everyone can get their vendors in place.
Right.
But for fall, definitely a year in advance. For spring, I would say, honestly, about 8 months. But to be fair, most couples that are looking to book weddings want to do it within a year. I had one couple that, and they blew my mind. One couple that toured with me and then had their wedding within 6 months. And I was like, oh my God. Now, of course, they're keeping it super low key, which is great. And, you know, you really, and that's again where you can see each of those couples shine. They kept it super low key. They're not really doing much. They're letting the camp speak for itself. Other couples are going to be bringing in, you know, bunch of things to dress it up to the nines, make it look like the Ritz. It really depends on what your style is, your budget is.
Right.
So it really depends. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Well, yeah, this has been great. We're going to try to wrap it up here. So for any closing remarks, what is something, I guess you could say that, like, let's just talk about, end on some positives. What are some things you love about this industry, the event space in general, that you just can never get enough of?
I will say personally, I mean, this venue, this location itself, this organization itself is my family, is home to me. Again, been here for over 20 years. So I personally, I mean, when people say, what do you love? I love every aspect of my job. I love that I have that flexibility, that I get to work with the kids and go do water quality testing with them. And then 2 hours later, go tour a couple or meet with them and go over logistics. So I love the flexibility in my job with that sense. But I just think that the camp has so much to offer so many different people, that we really do get to touch so many different, you know, groups and kind of use it in so many different ways. We have an equine program that does equine therapy for students with profound special needs that, you know, can't walk, can't talk, all those kinds of things. They come out once a week and do equine therapy with us. So there's so many different people that we're able to get to utilize this space. And I think that is really magical and sets this place apart, especially to, you know, a wedding hall or something like that. So to me, I have a lot of love for this space. It's in of itself, it's a beautiful location. I mean, there are so many different deeper wooded areas that we don't even get to tour on the first tour because there's so many things and facilities to look at. But there's just so many special little nooks and crannies as well. The gazebo by the pond is one. Like, just so I appreciate the natural beauty that, you know, obviously is bursting out everywhere, but also just what the space is able to offer. I think is something truly special that, yeah, is a highlight of my job for sure.
Yeah. Plus, it's in a great location. Like you said earlier, we're just shy of PA.
Yeah.
And right below us is Hunt Valley, Timonium area, and then the city. So it's in a really good location.
Yeah, I mean, we're
as well.
40 minutes from the airport.
Yeah. Especially if there's travelers coming in. Yeah, that's great. Well, I appreciate you coming on today. I would definitely be able to talk all day, but I think we're running out of time on our recording here. But
no worries.
Yeah, so everybody, if someone wants to connect with Camp Puh'tok, where would they go?
You can go to my website, camppuh'tok.com, so CAMPPUHTOK.com, or email me at info@camppuh'tok.com. Give me a call. I love to chat on the phone. Our office number is 410-329-6590. But yeah, any kind of, I mean, we have people that DM us on Instagram and Facebook.
Yeah.
So whatever works for them works for me. I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone has. And yeah, try to get as many people out here as we can.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yep.